Welcome, Samantha, to the podcast. Guys, I'm so excited to introduce today's guest. Samantha Cepeda became an LPN in 2014. She launched the nursesamIam.com, and it is her full-time job. She left bedside, retired from the old bedside in 2019, which we are all about. Part-time bedside, retiring from bedside. We're all about that here at the Dr. Nurse podcast. We like to talk about this stuff. And she is a full-time education media creator, and she's going to drop all the hints, all the gems. She's just going to tell us about her story and kind of how she got to where she is in her career. And if you're looking for stuff to download, if you're looking for, hey, listen, what's she offering? She's going to be sharing where you can find her. Samantha, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so honored.
Oh, I'm so excited to talk to you. We were totally vibing before the podcast, and I'm just super excited to hear, again, about all the stuff that you're doing. So tell me a little bit about how you see your role day in, day out as this entrepreneur.
So this is definitely a role that I didn't see for myself initially. I never thought I was like salesy. I never thought I'd be like on the entrepreneur track. It was definitely like instilled by my husband.
Yeah, it's that Puerto Rican girl, that Puerto Rican.
And a Capricorn, productive. But so I create study guides and educational material for nurses, both RNs and LPNs. And that originally started because I've always been creatively inclined and like artistically inclined. And in school, ever since like literally like elementary school, I've always tried to incorporate some kind of like fun element into my studying just so I can retain it more. Fast forward, it's due to me being ADHD, which I didn't know back then, but you know, I know it now.
Yeah.
So I've always, especially in nursing school, I would always incorporate some kind of fun element, pop culture element, and everyone in class would just be like, oh my God, I love your notes. Or can you explain it to me in the way that you just explain it to yourself? Or you know, something like that. And I just thought like, okay, it was just a way for me to make it through nursing school. Fast forward, I graduated, got my LPN, started working. And then in 2018, I had to have a hysterectomy. And 5 days after I got married, by the way. And but with getting the hysterectomy, I had to be on bed rest for like 3 months. And during that time, I was just like, oh my gosh, I miss nursing. And I don't want to lose my skills. I don't want to lose that knowledge with me just kind of sitting here and just crying and watching American Idol or something. And my husband was actually the one that was like, well, why don't you, because he knows I like to draw, why don't you like draw something nurse-like draw something related to nursing? And it made me think about how I used to just create my notes, and I would draw my notes, and just, I'm a very visual learner. And so I started doing that just to kind of like distract myself. And I showed my husband, and he was like, you just did that? I was like, yeah. He was like, you should think about like selling these and offering these. And I was like, really? And I went to sleep and I woke up, and he had created like a website for me already. He created a website like
Who is this man? Who is this man?
What prayer did I pray? And so he was like, all you have to do is just upload it and just see how it is. And I started sharing them on social media, and everyone just kind of like took to it. And especially during the pandemic, when everything had to be digital because you couldn't really be around anybody, it really popped off then. And, you know, even to this day, I have a whole bunch of, it's like I'm in nursing school now all over again, but I have a whole bunch of books, and I just go through stuff, and I create it in whatever in my brain, you know, makes sense, and whatever creativity culture thing I can relate it to, I do. And then I just draw it out, or I create it, and then I like upload it, and everyone just like goes crazy over it. And that's basically what I do.
So awesome, Samantha.
Yeah, it's like to just make learning and education as fun as possible, just because, you know, even science says if you're having fun when you're learning it, you're going to retain it more. And that was always the motto for me. So that's the motto for my business. And I just kind of just try to keep it light and not as heavy, you know, and it works. It works. And everyone like flocks to it and loves it. And I love it.
I love that story. So I'm going to break it down because there's a lot of little different nuggets in there that I think are really, really cool. The first being that I know that you struggled with infertility and having a hysterectomy super young like you are. I know you're a mom, and so I know it's hard. And I just think that it's really beautiful that you took something from the ashes and it ended up like just being this phoenix rising type thing, which is so
Right.
neat and so special. And one
Right.
of the things that I notice when I have these conversations a lot with nurse entrepreneurs is there's some event, there's something that changes. There
Mm-hmm.
is a moment of silence, a moment of what I would like to call pause
Right.
that then gives way to something that's really, really neat. And
Right.
it's just so cool that, again, your story kind of reflects that theme that I've been noticing in the
Mhm.
different conversations that I've been having with entrepreneurs, that I had to pause. COVID happened. You're good. I had to pause. COVID happened, or, I lost my job, or something, some
Mhm.
pivotal moment that then just kind of takes you into this next space, especially when, you take the ashes and you make it something beautiful. Like, hey, listen, maybe I just want to draw and write, or I want to, whatever it might be. I just think that's really cool. And then I think also one of the things you talk about is natural ability and figuring out what those things are that you're naturally inclined to that don't feel like work. Right. And so that's the stuff that really I've been wanting to have more and more conversations around for nurses is, hey, how do you find your natural strengths, your natural ability, and then use that, channel that into something that doesn't feel like work for you? Even if, and again, I know you retired from the bedside in 2019 because your business has just been booming. But one of the things that I think, maybe we could expand on a little bit today was, it sounds like your husband spoke into you like, hey, like you're good at this. And you knew this about yourself as well. But for the nurse that's like, I don't know what I'm good at, what would you recommend that she would start to do to kind of explore that?
That I would definitely recommend just like you said, like a moment of pause to find that clarity. Sometimes you have to have somebody else pour into you, just like you said, my husband was the one that poured into me and kind of made me realize what was already there within myself. And a lot of times as nurses, we're so busy taking care of other people that we don't really know how to take care of ourselves or just like pour into ourselves. And that can get lost, especially when you've been nursing for a long time. And so my advice would definitely just be to, maybe write down what is something that you're good at. The several things that you're good at. Just kind of like just write it down so you can see it on paper, black and white, or just have a conversation with someone that loves you, someone that has been by your side, someone that also knows you as much as you know yourself, and just have just honest conversations, with them or with yourself. And you'll be surprised as to what is born, no pun intended, when you dive into that, when you dive into you. And
Yeah.
it can be easier said than done, but just sitting down and just like making a list, or if you're a visual person, just kind of making a video and just talking about what you like to do, what you're good at, and just acknowledging that sometimes is the groundwork and what you need to do in order to get it started.
Yeah. I think again, like a lot, this book that I've been reading, it's very interesting. It's called The Road Less Stupid. And he talks a lot about entrepreneurship and about thinking. And I
Mhm.
think in the world of pop scrolling, busy, busy schedules, full schedules, like you said, caregiving as we do as nurses, it's always something, especially as moms. You're running around after kids, you're running after husbands, you're doing yard work, housework, you're just constantly busy. You have very little time to think. And so that, again, laying on your back, you have to sit still. You have to
Yeah.
just be there. Again, I think that is something that I've been noticing. And it's been something that I've been attempting to do more and more in just my own personal life of just, Sandra, you just need to get quiet. You just need to get quiet. You need to think and see what comes to that surface. That's one of the things that I've been noticing is that a lot of this stuff is born out of the quiet spaces, the times that you think there's no way this could be good. This sucks. This,
Mhm.
I'm having to do this. I'd rather much be busy. And then you're like, actually, this is kind of whispering to me. And I didn't even, if I would have just kept busy, I would have never heard it.
Right.
Um, And I think
Right.
that's just something that, I don't know, I think in your story kind of came to me. And so another thing that I, want to talk about is getting away from the bedside, right? So
Mhm.
a lot of the things that I advocate on the podcast is getting into that part-time space at your job to create that space that you can, think and dream and see what's on your heart and in your soul. And I think that's a
Right.
little more pertinent for nurse practitioners because we tend to work Monday through Friday, whereas nurses work 3 days, they have off for 4. So you have
Mhm.
more space. So you don't necessarily have to go part-time if you're a nurse because you're kind of in a really, really condensed schedule, which allows for those 4 days of rest and thinking.
Mhm.
But I do recommend creating space to think. And so
Right.
if there's a nurse that's like, all right, okay, cool. So I'll create some space. I'll think, I'll sit in the room in a dark room and try to come up with something. What would you say and recommend for a nurse that's like, okay, I want to create something passive. How do I create passive income with just my nursing knowledge?
I would say pairing it with the answers that you find when you sit in that quiet place and like, this
Mm,
is what I like to do. So it's whether it's like, okay, I like fashion or something like
yeah.
that. How can I mix fashion with, nursing, and just kind of like that mental exercise of trying to figure that out, because it's two things that love, and bringing them together would be amazing. But like maybe scrubs can be something, that you go into, or,
Scrub
you know,
caps or like,
right.
it doesn't even like,
Or you
again, yeah, go ahead. Okay. I'm sorry.
um,
I'll shut up.
no,
You
you're
keep
fine.
going.
And honestly, it's so individual.
Yeah.
Like it's so individualized as far as the different things that can come to your mind and what you can do to it. It's almost like hard to say like, oh, this is the framework for what you need to do, because you'll be surprised as to what you think about and what you allow yourself to kind of like dream when you kind of sit still. And with me, I wasn't given the choice to sit still. I didn't go and be like, okay, I'm going to sit in my quiet place. Like my hysterectomy sat me down,
Yeah.
and so sometimes whether it's intentional or whether life is just lifing and it happens, asking yourself those questions, because everyone's so different. Some people may not want to be in front of the camera. Some people prefer the back. Some people may not want to be creative and do anything in sales, but they may still want to be a part of something that's not a bedside. Maybe they want to be a part of a team. And so it really has a lot to do with being honest with yourself. You don't want to go from one job to another.
Yes. Come on, Samantha.
Like, oh, this person's doing this, so this must be the way. So let me go ahead and just try that. If it's not really what you want to do, and that falling into that trap of what everyone else is doing is not the way to go. And so I try to, tell everyone to remove the pressures of, feeling like you have to get away from bedside. And in order for you to get away from bedside, you have to do this. There's so much out there for you to do. And, if it's not something that's already exists, maybe you can create it. Maybe you can, invent it. And as long as you're passionate about it, other people will see that passion and they will flock to it. So, just be just transparent with yourself, honest with yourself, and what you want to do, what you like to do, what you don't like to do. That's very important as well. And just kind of see what kind of forms from that.
Those are so many nuggets. Individual is the one that I'm pulling. Each individual person has their own journey experience. That's why I always say enjoy the journey, right? Like,
Right.
what is it that lights you up? You're an individual. There's only one you. So
Mhm.
taking Samantha's playbook, recipe book is not going to be the same because you're not the same. And so again, everyone has got their own journey to go through, and to make sure that in that space you're present and you're aware of what lights up my soul. You may not want to be the head entrepreneur, but you might love helping an entrepreneur. So if Samantha's hiring, you might be like, I would love to work with you and do this as I work part-time at the bedside, because I don't completely hate being at the bedside. I want to do some of that some of the days, but if I do it 4 days a week, I'm burned out. So I'd rather do 2 days and then do this 2 days. And so you can, again, mix and match, kind of like dials on your oven. You've got dials on the oven. You got all of them. You turn on this dial, you turn on that pot, you turn on this, you've got all of them cooking, and you're not burning yourself out, which is
Right.
what a lot of nurses, a lot of nurse practitioners, we're all in this space. We chose nursing for our particular reasons, and
Mm-hmm.
we don't necessarily want to leave all the time, but sometimes
Mm-hmm.
it's too much. And that caregiving that we do is exhausting. It's draining 100%. And so again, you need those moments. I've had somebody on had a podcast episode on like taking sabbaticals. Maybe you just walk away for a little bit, you go back. I mean, because trust me, we always need nurses. So there's just so many ways to kind of build it out and to kind of, make your own recipe for your life that works. And then another thing that you talked about that I really want to mention and highlight is the creative aspect of who we are as people. Because I'm a Christian. One of the things that I find very interesting as you study the Bible is that the God of the universe is a creator, right? And so if we're made in his likeness, if we're made in his image, and he's a creator, then more than likely there's something in us that wants to create. And again, giving space for that expression of whatever it is. Again, it can be crochet. I want to crochet nursing bibs. I want to crochet, I don't know, I want to make lanyards. I want to make whatever it is that you find. I want to Cricut nurse stuff. Okay, Cricut. If you want to, whatever it is that you're into and you like to build and create, find that thing that, again, I believe that I believe it's in our DNA to create. And so I think to a certain extent, as we move into employment positions, we stifle our creativity and we turn it down. And then when you watch a child that has never, I have a toddler, so I watch him just, Mom, and he's always creating something. And he walks over and he's like, look what I created. I didn't teach him that. I didn't tell him you need to be a creator. It's just in him. It's just in him. And it's just something that comes out. And I think it's in children, and it's so obvious because they don't have any inhibitions behind creating something. And so go back to that childlike mentality, I think. And again, I don't know how this is pertinent, but I'm just saying it, but go back to that childlike mentality of creation and see what it is that you gravitate towards as the adult, letting that little child kind of come out and play. And you might find that you're able to create something for your own journey that you might be able to monetize. So I think that's really, really cool. So how did you learn how to do all this digital stuff that you've been creating these digital workbooks and the entrepreneurial aspect of all these different things? How have you grown these different pots that you've got going on?
I learned as I go. Let me tell you something. I learned as I go. During the time where I was on my bed rest, I didn't have anything else to do but to just absorb information and learn. So whether it was from like the internet, or a big part of it was my husband. He's very entrepreneurial. He's very like, not salesy, but he just has this mindset that's just like strategy and just business, and it's crazy. I don't know how he thinks about all this stuff. And he poured that into me. And even now to this day, like he and I work very close together regarding this business. I do majority of the creative stuff. And then as far as like the strategy and the creation of like the websites and stuff like that, he'll be the orchestrator as far as like the technical stuff. And then I'll be the person that will like make it pretty, if that makes sense. Yes. And so like it's like a yin and yang. Yeah. Really like opposite, but it works amazing together.
Yeah.
So like I would not have the business that I have to this day if it was not for him. And I, try to make sure that in my mind, apart from the creative, I try to, hold on and to really understand a lot of the business aspect. I never went to school for that. I was nursing. So, so a lot of that is just learning as I go. And being married to like my mentor / teacher is like,
yeah. So Samantha, it matters who you marry, right? Like, let's have a real conversation with people about choosing a spouse, and who you choose in life as your partner can end up playing a really big role in the business opportunities that you're able to develop and the things that you're able to develop inside of yourself. And so for even the single ladies or the married ladies, yeah, it matters. Like if your spouse has got skills that can help kind of build your portfolio, right? Add his skills to your business. And that's something that I think is actually super wise. And again, a lot of entrepreneurs will talk about their spouses in a way that's like, I couldn't have gotten here without them because they were either supporting me emotionally or they had the business sense. They knew how to invest the money. They knew these things. And so again, the more you both are working on yourselves strengthens the core, right? Like the both of you grow as the one grows in their abilities and their skills as well. So I just think that's really cool. And yeah. And for the nurse that's like, okay, well, I don't have a spouse. Build yourself up in the meantime, right? And so if you're not married, one, it does matter who you marry. So just be smart and be paying attention to the little things as you're dating. But then as you are in that single space, be developing the things inside of you that you can to grow certain skills. Because again, one, just take action. That's the first thing that we have to say is just take action. Do it today. Just try, just start, because you'll just be that far ahead 24 hours later. So just get going. And then again, if you can, as you get older and you add people to your roster, your mastermind group, it matters what they know. And so if you're thinking about, wanting to move down this space, see how the people around you, family, friends, can help you and to meet your goals. So I think that's really, really cool. Okay. So that's how you talk about that. So one of the things that a nurse might be wondering is like, okay, so I have this idea. I don't know where to get started. Can Samantha tell me her first step that she would give a nurse that's like, all right, I want to launch this idea. What do I do? What would be something that you would say?
I would say definitely research, depending on what the idea is. Like if you want to do like digital stuff and you don't want to maybe dive right into having your own website, check out Etsy. There's a lot of platforms like that where you can kind of get started, especially as a beginner, to kind of get warmed up and see what all kind of needs to go into it as far as like marketing, creation, all that stuff. So you're not overwhelmed and have all the back end also on you. And always seek information. Always, try to learn something. There's never too much information, if that makes sense. So whether it is, maybe if you want to do something with like merch or something like that, research that. Do you want to create it yourself, or do you want to kind of do like a print on demand route? There's so many different options to go as far as like trying to do something and create like a passive stream of income. There's like, even people have like ebooks and stuff like that on different things that nurses can do specifically that can help with passive income. Get one of those, go on Pinterest to get inspired and just soak in all that information, because right when you have all those pieces, that's when you start to get your ideas. That's when you're just like, oh, this is what I can do. This is what I'm comfortable doing. This is what I'm able to do, whether it's emotionally, financially, physically, the way life is set up, that's going to allow you to do those things. I definitely recommend and advise that you just seek information, just seek to learn more about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And try to find someone maybe that is doing something similar to what you want to do. And that comes from, the research and looking for like-minded people, especially like-minded nurses. You'll be surprised as to what other people have accomplished or what other people can do. And when you see things like that, you'll be like, oh my gosh, not in a competitive, nasty way, but like, if this person can do it, I can do it. And, you just that inspiration alone is enough to get you started, at least mentally, on the track where you're like, okay, I know this won't be the easiest maybe, but this is what I want to do. And I see this person is also in this space, so it's doable, so just seeing someone doing something either exactly what you want to do or similar, somewhat close, that's like a built-in motivation in itself. And yeah, I would definitely recommend just kind of like starting there and just getting as much information as you can. And that information doesn't have to be like, oh, download this 500-page business book on, marketing for dummies or how to start your own business. It can just be researching, something that is, whether it's just a business idea or, like I said, finding someone that's doing something that you want to do, just kind of just seeing what's out there, seeing what's available, I would definitely say that's the place to start and kind of into. That makes sense.
Yeah, that does make a lot of sense. I think the first thing when you talk about research, again, if you have an idea, is to figure out what's missing from the market, right? And so whenever you're niching down and you have this idea, who else is doing your idea? And how
Right.
can you make what you're doing a little bit different? What you
Right.
begin to realize as you create, and again, I have to bring up my faith because it's so true that there's endless possibilities. Like there's not going to be another you. No one's going to do it the exact same way. No one's going to do it the Samantha way.
Right.
And you take Kanye West talking to Kim Kardashian. I don't know if I'm assuming this is what your notes are, but you take something and you make it funny that then you're like, that's just like the sodium channels talking to the potassium channels. And she's trifling. I don't know. And so now you've like
Funny, I
made
did do a Kardashian one on potassium.
I didn't even know that. That's
I did.
hilarious. But like, you know, like no one's gonna do it like that, like you.
Right.
And so you might be like, okay, that's not really what I'm into. I'm into like like I'm into Star Wars. Like I want to create like Star Wars themed nursing notes. And so like that could be what you do. I don't know. But like the point is that there's endless options. And again,
Right.
going back to like I was saying, my faith, he created the entire world. He created the entire world. Like you just need to create one thing and that could be your thing. And so when you start to again get into that idea of like, wow, there are endless possibilities. I don't have to copy anyone because I can create my own thing that's coming from inside of me, that is innate to how I am, that I like, that you don't have to copy anyone. And there is something in you that wants to get out. You've just got to figure that out. So I agree. Research the market, figure out what's missing, and figure out how you can fill in what's missing with your own special thing. And
Absolutely.
then get passionate about it. Love it, get excited about it, and others will get excited about it and love what you're doing because yeah, that's something that again, when you birth that life into a project, it really does become so personal. You really do begin again, if you're keeping the person that you're making it in mind, you know, you can create anything. And once you start realizing that there's endless options, I've just got to see what speaks to me. I just think that's just a really, really neat place to start. And then, like you said, take action, start today, start doing something. You're not going to create a big business overnight, but it could happen over 365 nights. So you got to
Right.
take that first night. You got to take that
Mine
first
took
step.
me 9 months. Right? How poetic. How poetic.
Wow.
It took me
Wow.
to birth the business that I have now, right after my hysterectomy. And I didn't realize it until
Oh,
I was like, wow, that is poetic.
Samantha.
That is very poetic. But you know, it became my baby. And so, you know, the passion behind it and, you know, the absolute like love that I have for it, it really did, you know, it shone through. And
Oh, that's beautiful. I didn't
yeah,
even realize
everyone
that.
can see it. Yeah.
Dang.
It's
Yeah.
definitely my
Yeah. Yeah. And again, like it was born from this place of, you know, infertility. And like, you're like, that's it. This is my dream. I didn't have this thing. And then it was just like, no, how can I take that pain? What can I put that energy and that hurt
right.
into? And to have a partner that just kind of got in the trenches with you and is like, we're going to build something from this. Like, again, I think that's the biggest form of empathy that he could have done was just be like, all right, we're down here. I'm here with you, but let's get out of here. Let's climb out of this together. What can we build
Right.
from this? And so I think that's just really, really special. And, you know, again, like you said, also with someone that's thinking about what skills can I get and attain, you just pick them up as you go, right? Like the business ideas, the marketing, all these things as you begin to grow, these things will grow in you and it might take time. That's okay. Like it will take time. You just keep working it. We don't, like you said, we don't have a baby the moment that we get pregnant. Like the baby now
Right.
needs 9 months. And so there's laws in the universe that we trust, right? You plant a seed. You don't get an egg. Sorry, an egg. You don't get what kind of tree? If you plant a seed, you get an egg. If you plant a seed, you don't expect the tree the next day, right? You don't expect when you plant the orange seed to have oranges the next day. It takes time.
Right.
You trust the process. And so
It's
that's
the
one thing,
process.
right? You trust it and
Yeah,
you just
the
let it.
process.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
everybody's process, AKA journey, is different. And so yeah, just don't stop. That's
Right.
the real difference of this whole thing. So tell people where they can find you, where they can find your material, reach out to you if they have more questions. Oh, actually, I have one more question. Mentors. Anybody mentor you in this whole time that you've been doing this? Has it just been your husband that you guys have just been drudging this man?
Husband.
Cepeda, Cepeda. I love it.
Right.
Yes, I love that.
I'll like
Yeah.
download and I'll like invest in like courses and classes and stuff like that to learn on my own. But then as far as like the application of that knowledge, my husband, built-in mentor.
Wow.
Built-in. He's done it for like multiple Fortune 500 companies, and like he definitely has the experience. And so it was just perfect. It was literally just perfect. And so when he saw how serious I was about the business and how everyone kind of like the impact that it had on the nursing community, he was like, this really can be something. This really is starting to become something. And so, he was also just as excited as I was to be able to be a part of it and to contribute what he can into not only just me, but the business as well. And yeah, he's definitely the closest thing to a mentor, living mentor.
Yeah. So I actually was thinking this as you were talking. Do you miss bedside nursing?
I miss, because it's like a twofold answer. Like physically, no.
Yeah.
Physically, no. But I do miss the interactions with like my patients.
Yes.
And, just that patient care, especially, when you have that genuine reason of going into nursing to truly help someone, you miss, in theory, you miss it. You miss it. But then when I think about the impact that my business has on nursing students and how I help them, that itch that I, sometimes will think about as far as bedside, like that, being able to provide a service or provide something that someone else needs or make someone stay. I do that still within my business. And so like that'll scratch my itch. So all in one, no, I don't miss it.
Into the truth about it. I love that. Yes, I can totally see what you're saying. There is elements to nursing that you miss, but you're still a nurse. You're still providing a service and you're still providing care. It's just for a different population of people. And, people are like, oh, you're not a nurse because you don't work anymore. You're once a nurse, always a nurse. And it doesn't matter if you're at the bedside. You can be a nurse and be doing something very different with your career. So people that are like, oh, this isn't nursing. Well, actually, it can look a lot different to be a nurse and be a digital creator and own your own business, and your clientele and your patients are different. And so
And those same people that are saying, oh, you're not a nurse, it's not a nursing thing, 4 years later, they're going to be the main ones saying, like, looking or asking you, like, oh, how do I escape from the bedside? Or how do I do this? Blah, blah, blah. Once that burnout settles for them, they're going to be on the end of like, okay, what can I do? What else can I do with my nursing that isn't necessarily bedside? So it's always funny to see kind of like the tables turn. People that maybe were trying to down you and say like, oh, this isn't real nursing. Very shortly after,
call me later.
Right. Like, hey, I love what you're doing.
Yeah.
I get involved, and it's...
Yeah, no, it's true. The burnout sets in pretty quick. And I think, again, I could tell within the first year of nursing in my career that I was ready. I was like, this can't be it. Oh my goodness, And so, as different turns, I saw Nurse Blake posted this on Instagram, like nurse practitioners are just nurses that got burned out and now have student loans. And like, I couldn't like disagree with them. It's true. Like you get burned out and you think that like the answer is to go get more schooling and to go take on more risk at your job and to go do more complicated nursing. And maybe what we really need is just more of the stuff that lights our souls up, the more creative stuff that we are meant to do as a whole being. And so
nurses are creators. Like, you know how creative you have to be as a nurse?
I've seen some of these IV lines that you guys create and the little tags and then the Flexi-Seal bag. I'm like, I don't know what artist attached this Flexi-Seal bag onto this bum. I don't know how that happened, but she needs to come back because I can't get this thing. If this thing blows off, we're in trouble. I can't get that thing back.
A lot of people think that like being creative has to do with being an artist, and that's not true. That is not true at all. You can be creative in so many different aspects. You're creative as a nurse. Trust me.
Yes.
Trust me.
Yes.
And so like I think just kind of starting there and just kind of like realizing your own power and just how special you are individually you'll be surprised as to be like, I do like doing this, or I do like this aspect of nursing. How can I, take it and flock with it? Some people decide to leave bedside and become clinical instructors, for nursing students, and that lights their soul on fire. They're not getting yelled at bedside, but they're helping the next generation of nurses to, accomplish their dream. And that in itself is fulfilling in itself. Whenever I get messages of people saying, hey, I passed NCLEX, or I passed, whatever exam using your materials, that gives me just as much satisfaction as a patient that would be like, hey, I feel so much better. Thank you so much for, taking care of me when I was sick. And that's why the answer to that question was now, just because I still get that sense of fulfillment. And, it's just, you'll be surprised as to how that feeling can carry over into different aspects of life in general, not just nursing. And it doesn't always have to come from bedside. Not everyone wants to leave bedside, but not everybody wants to stay. And that's okay. And that's the number one thing. It is okay if you don't want to stay bedside. And it's okay if you do want to stay bedside. It's okay if you want to get away from nursing altogether. And it's also okay if you want to climb that ladder. If you want to go from an LPN to an RN to NP, maybe CRNA, whatever it is, whatever floats your boat.
Yeah.
It lights your soul on fire. And I think that is, the main thing that quietness will bring you.
Yeah, it's figuring out what it is that your soul is wanting to do. Mm-hmm. And you were saying something and I had a thought and now it's gone. But I do agree with you so much about kind of quieting your soul, seeing what comes to the surface, whatever it is that you want to do within nursing. Again, using those dials, figuring out what lights up your individual life and your career goals is something that we need to be encouraging more nurses to do. And yeah, if we could start there, I think a lot of nurses would prevent burnout and would be more aligned in what they want to do with their careers. And we need good nurses. So we don't need everyone to just all flock out of the hospital. That's not what we need at all. But we do need to create space for people to be creative. And if that means that the hospitals need to flex their schedules and they need to have these different options for nurses and nurse practitioners, I think they need to do that. And one of the things that, again, as I've been in this space and creating the podcast, a benefit of it has been that I have exposed myself to realizing, wow, we are in real estate, we are in the boardroom, we are in politics, we're on all these different spaces. And so I can really create and shape this career into what I'm wanting. And it's the most incredible degree to be a nurse. It's the most incredible degree. And you have chosen so well if you are a nurse, because you are not limited to the walls of the hospital. And I want to show you that. And I hope that whoever's listening today hears that message. And also, I've been able to create digital products, and I am not anywhere where you are. You are like, girl, you are light years ahead of me. But I've been able to create a side income stream with creating digital products from my nursing knowledge. And it's a game changer to sit at work and watch money roll in. And you're like, cha-ching, or to sit at home and watch money roll, cha-ching,
wake
up.
Oh, nice.
I made money while I was sleeping last night. It's a game changer. So I'm not afraid to let people know how it is that, again, that I made the business with a friend of mine. We both created these booklets, and yes, it has made, we wake up to money. And it's, again, it's not anywhere on the scale that I know you're making, but it is on a scale that goes, that money changes stuff for my family. That's a little bit of something towards this or that, and to cover this and that. And it's been a really big blessing. And so there's no way that I can't share this stuff. And to have this conversation with you, I know is going to change more nurse practitioner and nurses' minds, because we all have something to create. We all have something to bring. It may not be digital products, but that creativity is still inside of you. So figure it out, unlock it, and reach out to either one of us if you have questions or whichever. how can they find you, Samantha, and find your material and check you out?
So you can go to my website, which is www.thenursesam.com. You can find me on social media, on Instagram, Facebook at The Nurse Sam, on Twitter/X. I am The Nurse Sam. And on Pinterest, it's The Nurse Sam. No, on TikTok, it's The Nurse Sam 1.
Okay.
And just check out my material, I have both creative material as far as educational content, educational study guides for pre-nursing students, nursing students, and those are taking the NCLEX, as well as just fun nursing content, check that out and join the squad. Like, you can also find me at campnursingschool.com if you want to be more a part of our community, of nursing students that want to have a better and a healthier nursing school experience. Not one that's just, hey, this is your assigned reading, here you go. We're very I almost call it like a sorority, but just without the hazing. We're just like a sisterhood. It's just like a sisterhood. And we learn together, we grow together, we thrive together, we focus on mental health. We focus on study groups, and we have them as a group virtually. It's just, a supportive community, and it's totally free. And that's what nursing should be, in my opinion. That's what nursing school should be. It shouldn't be a walking PT experience. It shouldn't be, as soon as I graduate, I have to go sign up for therapy. It shouldn't be that.
Agree. Right. Or just as you're working, you need therapy because your job is so toxic and the culture is so toxic. And again, the book that I was talking about earlier, The Road Less Stupid, is so good about culture. And it's kind of opening up my eyes to wow, the hospital culture is so toxic, and it really is because it doesn't focus in on the aspects to keeping culture healthy, but how can I do that for myself? And so continual self-improvement is something that I highly recommend for every single nurse that's going into those spaces. It's just, you have to recognize healthy because you have to be it. So if you don't know what it looks like to be healthy, then you don't recognize, well, this ain't, because I know what is, and this ain't, and so you need to work on that in yourself so that you can go into those spaces and see and recognize the signs. So Samantha, thank you for coming on. Thank you for letting everyone know where they can.
This was such a great conversation.
Oh, I'm so glad. And I wanted to do rapid fire with you before you go. Do you have time?
Of course.
Okay, so rapid fire, you cannot prepare for these questions. They're just going to be hit to you fast. I don't even know how fast I did them. To be honest with you, we paused so many times to talk about whatever the answer was. It's not really rapid fire, but let's do it. What is your favorite holiday?
Favorite holiday? Christmas.
Okay, total yes. Total yes. And then what are you watching on Netflix and chill? You're an entrepreneur, so I'm sure TV's out, but do you do any Netflix and chill? And if you do, what is it?
Of course. I'm definitely a person that has to have Netflix playing on the background as I do anything else. I can't sit in silence. I just absolutely cannot. I am watching a variety of things. Selling Sunset, rewatching Grey's Anatomy for the 100th time, but stopping at a certain season because I cannot take it when McDreamy dies.
Oh, yeah. Skip.
What else? I love, any of the movies that comes on or whatever. We just watched one last night. It was called Pain Hustlers.
I don't think I've seen that.
It was about, I don't know if you've noticed, but are you a Netflix and chill person?
I can be, if it because my husband likes Netflix, so I'll connect with him with something what are you watching? I'm that person. Yeah.
There's just been so much movies and shows about big pharma and
the documentaries.
Yeah. And the movies. This one was an actual movie based off of one of, something from the opioid crisis and how, one of those big pharmaceutical companies paid off doctors and was giving everybody with a hangnail fentanyl and stuff like that. It was just
crooked. Yes, crooked girl.
Yeah, and I like my ratchet TV, my Love and Hip Hops and my Real Housewives of whatever.
Love is Blind. That's another one that I'm
blind. How could I forget?
That trash TV. Oh, mom. Yeah, no. Exactly. So with you. So if you could pay someone to do one chore, what would it be?
Laundry.
Oh, you don't like your laundry.
Oh my, please. I'm one of those people that I would.
You wear dirty clothes off the floor. Go. Okay.
No. There's like a scene in Grey's Anatomy when she just like, he was like, you don't do your laundry? And she was like, no, whenever I need new underwear, I just buy new. I hate doing
Sorry,
I don't
buy
know
more
what it is. Like it has to be, and it can't be both. Like it can't wash, dry, and fold and put away. It's too much. It like
It's
one
too
day
much.
has to be washed.
That is so funny. That is so funny. I'm so ghetto. I'm like, I wear the dirty clothes. I guess if I hate laundry, I just put on a little dirty
You have
clothes.
a laundry chair, like where you just put.
I smell it. It's not too bad. I wear it again.
It's fine. It's fine. We've all done it with scrubs. It's fine.
You're so bushy. I just go buy another pair, girl. I get tired of washing. Just
Okay.
Okay, I think that's it. I think we've done 3. Have we done 3? Yes. Oh,
Yes.
Mine is dishes. Totally dishes. Oh,
that was my second choice, honestly. That was my second choice.
Oh my gosh, can't stand it. Luckily, I married somebody who does them constantly because I hate it. I can cook up. I can just cook, make a mess, and then I just want to walk away and just, I don't know how it happened, but it's now gone.
My husband's the cook, and I'll do the cleanup of the dishes. That's perfectly
Yeah.
fine.
Oh, that Puerto Rican food. You have a mofongo. You're having some good food, girl. Samantha!
Let me tell you, I'm right when we leave this, I'm like, what's for lunch, please?
Samantha, way too much fun. Thank you so much for coming onto the podcast and dropping all your wisdom and sharing what it is that you're doing. And guys, check her out, give her some love, show her business some love, and again, enjoy the journey of your careers.